Welcome to the Guitarist Toolkit. My name is Chris, and today I'm going to be showing you the essential E and A shape bar chords. So that's going to be major, dominant, minor, and minor 7 on both the E shape as well as the A shape. Major, dominant, minor, minor 7. So this is going to be really helpful for those of you that are looking to branch out from maybe the song library you know now, mostly knowing the open chords, major, minor, and maybe just major, minor bar chords as well. Get comfortable, grab your guitar, and let's get right into it. Alright, so we're going to stick with the chords that we've worked with previously in the last lessons. We're going to start here, G major. This is an E shape bar chord, and we've talked about why that's an E shape bar chord coming from our open E chord shape, right? It just turns into a bar here. Now, that's our major position. If we want to convert it to a dominant 7th chord, well, we need to include the 7th scale degree, right? So if we think of G, all we have to do is take off the pinky. That's where our G note is. And we're going to move it to an F natural, right? That 3rd fret on the D string. Perfect. Okay, so let's go back to the major position. We'll convert major to minor. Let's go to major. Now, if we take our middle finger off, that's where the 3rd of the chord is currently. It's very helpful to know where the intervals are in the chord so that you can actually change the chord quality easily. So to go from major to minor, middle finger on the G string, we're just going to remove that. Becomes minor. Now we hit that minor 3rd, and you can really hear the difference. This is also a good way to get your ear sort of in tune to these subtle changes, right? But subtle change maybe fingering wise, but it's a pretty dramatic difference on the overall sound and the feeling that it could evoke. Alright, so we did major, we did dominant, and we did minor. Let's talk about minor 7. We'll start with the minor chord, G minor. All we do is lift up the pinky for that 7th again, right? Removal of the pinky and the middle finger, now you have the minor 7. So that's a lot for the first finger to bar, but as long as you follow the tips in the previous videos, right, and you sort of tilt your finger, don't push too hard, you can get pretty even pressure across. Alright, so next let's look at the A shape bar chords. We'll start with the major here, and I'm going to show you kind of the variation that I teach to a lot of private students. The one you're going to use the most, and it's basically this. Now you'll notice I'm not rounding my ring finger enough to probably get the 1st string to ring out if I'm comfortable. Of course I can do it, right? And it's worth learning how to be able to do that properly. However, in a realistic way, when you're jumping from, a lot of times you're probably going to stop at the B string anyway, right? Which is the major 3rd on top. So that just looks like this, right? Things to look out for: don't leave your middle finger pointed straight up, right? Like you're flipping somebody off. Don't tuck it under, don't tuck any of the fingers under the fretboard. That's super uncomfortable, not great for the hand. Just reset. Get that pressure on the ring finger. It's a little different than the 1st finger bar, obviously. The ring finger is kind of tricky. You get a little bend at that knuckle. You could start with that, right? As long as your fingers aren't tucked, you could start with just the ring finger bar, trying to work that out, and then placing the 1st finger. The 1st finger doesn't have to bar with the A shape. If you're not going to play the high E string, you can literally just play the root, 3rd fret, that's C. Let's go from major to dominant like we did before, okay? So we're starting with major. The conversion to the dominant chord is actually this. It's adding the pinky, changing the fingering, right? Same thing we did before. We have our octave, right? That 5th fret on the G string is just another C. So to get it to be the 7th, we want it to be a B note. Well, now we have to use the 1st finger bar. So the 1st finger has to do maybe a little bit more work. Now we're actually barring it for the dominant 7. Okay. Now let's go from major to minor. Again, the fingering is going to be different. We're not going to have the ring finger bar, but I actually think it's kind of an easy position, shape to play. So we'll start major. Alright, now our major 3rd's on top. It's on that 5th fret of the B string. So we need to go down a half step, meaning we need to change to this. And that's our minor chord. Again, there's a pretty stark difference between nice and happy. I think you can hear it probably even better when you have it isolated with the A shape. Good. Now let's do the minor 7. Again, getting rid of the pinky here, similar to what we did with the E shape. So we'll start minor. Minor 7, just lift the pinky. And that's a great chord, right? It doesn't sound as dark. The minor definitely sounds pretty dark in the A shape, which makes sense because that's a go-to in the open position for a lot of guitar players, the A minor. All right, so it's the same idea playing it here. That almost sounds sinister, A minor to C minor. And it's good to kind of experiment with these ideas. That's how you write songs. That's how you sort of grow on the instrument, is by exploring some of these different ideas, taking one chord to another place, even experimenting with things that maybe aren't in the key, because you might get lucky and you might find something that works in an interesting way. So the minor 7 is just a less dark minor chord, essentially, is how I would think about it for now, you know. Right, G minor, C minor 7, right? Now if we do that with just 2 minor chords, sounds similar on the E, little bit darker on the A shape though, so it's a totally different vibe. Alright, so let's do all 8 chord shapes now in one exercise. We're going to do major, dominant, minor, and minor 7, the way that we learn them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, minor, 2, 3, 4, minor 7, 2, 3, 4, major, A shape, 4, 7, 2, 3, 4, minor, 3, 4, minor 7, 3, back to major. So I hope this video was helpful. Please make sure to like and subscribe to my channel so you can see all the previous videos I've done in this series and a lot more to come. Remember, if you're having trouble learning any of this material, you can always join my Patreon account and have direct access to me to ask questions and see all the live notation and downloadable PDFs for all of my lessons. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.